Namaste and welcome to Citti Media. My name is Divyanshi Sharda, your host. Today we have a very special guest joining us on our show, Urvashi Prasad ji. Shri Urvashi Prasad ji is a public policy specialist in the office of the Vice Chairman at Niti Aayog. She is involved in the work of Government of India's Empowered Group 1 for managing the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Urvashi ji is a member of the task force for overseeing the implementation of sustainable development goals in India and co-authored India's first voluntary national review presented at the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development in 2017. She is a member of the World Economic Forum's expert network and an alumnus of the World Economic Forum's Global Shaper community. Urvashi ji, namaste and welcome to our show.
Namaste. Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to have you on our show, Urvashi ji. So, coming to my first question, ma'am, regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, and since you are on the core team of the same, of the management committee of the same, it's really important that we address some very key concerns that are on the minds of the Indian public in the 21st century in our country today. So, ma'am, concerning the March-April spike of COVID cases that has occurred, could you kindly elucidate in detail as to why it happened and what the modus operandi of the government to control the rapid transmission of the virus has been?
Yes, so there's a couple of major factors here why we have seen this second surge. But I think before I get into that, just for the benefit of everyone to understand that pandemics by their very nature are very unpredictable. And that is why they cause so much devastation, unfortunately. Whether we look at the Spanish flu, which happened, about a century ago, or various other, epidemics and similar such outbreaks that happen in different countries, they are very unpredictable. They're very dynamic. The situation changes very quickly sometimes. And in this case, what has made it more difficult for everybody is that it's a completely new virus. It's a virus that we have not seen before. It's a virus that we don't understand. Every day we are learning something new about this virus. Scientists globally are hard at work. Everybody is trying to understand the virus better, understand its genetic behavior, etc. But it's very important to state this at the outset that it's a very unpredictable beast that we are dealing with. So I think that is, something that has to be put out. That, pandemics are very difficult, therefore, for even the best of health systems or countries which are very advanced, very developed also, can get very overwhelmed by a pandemic. So I think that was just context. Now, coming to why this surge has happened in the country, the second surge, as we are calling it, there are two factors. One is that, over the course of several months last year, we had become quite careful, about our behaviors in public places. We were wearing masks. Many of us, at least in the cities, in the urban centers where the first wave was much more prevalent, we had started getting more used to wearing masks, hand washing, maintaining distance. For a long time last year, we were under lockdown. So, people were just working from home. People were not getting out of their homes. So I think last year we did a fairly good job as people, as all of us, in acquiring these behaviors. Because again, it's important to say that these behaviors are very new for us. In India, we are not very used to wearing masks. So, these are fairly new things for the population. So actually, last year we picked it up quite quickly compared to what I might have even expected as somebody who's worked in public health for all these years. But what happened is that somewhere that behavior started slipping. Towards the end of last year, we became a little more relaxed. There were many more gatherings, there were festivals, there was the wedding season. So whether it's gatherings for social reasons, political reasons, religious reasons, whatever those reasons might be, we started doing many more of those gatherings. We started going out of our houses a lot more. We also started going out for work a lot more. The economy also started picking up. So a lot of people who were actually sitting at home for several months last year, towards the last part of the year, they started actually going out as well. So I think collectively what happened that somewhere, because, in public health, the very first word is public. So public behavior, dictates to a large extent the course of such an outbreak, the course of such a pandemic. And I think all of us somewhere, it's a collective, responsibility, I would say. I'm not blaming anyone because, as I said, they're not very used to as people, wearing masks or doing these things, but it became a collective issue in this case. The other factor is that the virus has also changed a little bit. It is true that certain variations in the virus have come, certain mutant strains came into the country also from outside. And then further, we saw certain mutations within the country itself. So I think both those factors combined eventually led us to this surge, and very, very high numbers that we are seeing today, unfortunately. And I think when you have such high numbers, even if you have the best health system in the world, you can feel very overwhelmed. So I think that is not surprising that the health system in many places has got overwhelmed. But various steps, are being taken, have been taken, and are being taken, and are also being accelerated. Whether it is to increase testing in the country, whether it's to improve the oxygen supply, not just right now, but also in the future, because we might even have a third wave, we might even have a fourth wave. That is how pandemics are. So we have to be prepared not just for the immediate situation, but also for the future. Vaccination, a lot of work is going on, and we'll talk more about the vaccination, I'm sure. But how to boost supply, and also very importantly, to get information to people, because in a pandemic there's a lot of panic, it's a crisis situation. So sometimes people are not aware, what do we do, how do we manage it, when do we stay at home, when do we go to hospital. So the efforts are also on to get that information out to people, the verified, accurate information, so that there are no myths or misconceptions. Sometimes otherwise what happens that if somebody's saturation level for oxygen is even 92 to 94, even then they start thinking that I need to take oxygen, which is not true. In fact, it could damage their lungs, because 92 to 94 saturation is perfectly all right. So simple things like this, government is of course trying, but we also have to use the networks of civil society, we have to use the networks of private sector, of citizen groups, to get these messages out to people, so that apart from whatever the health system is doing, the panic amongst people is also reduced, and people also know what are the correct decisions to take at what point in time. So I think on all these fronts, efforts are on right now, to not only manage this present situation, but also make sure that we are prepared and better prepared for the future.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Citti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.